Welcome to Julia's Tutorials. I'm Julia and this is going to be a 4-part tutorial on the creation kit basics and how to create different types of objects. In this first video I'm going to show you how to make workshop settlement objects. So it's going to be about making furniture, static objects and containers. Now the difference between these three types is that the static object is just an object. Once you build it, you can't move it or you can't interact with it in any way. A container is a static object, but once you build it, you can put stuff inside of it or take something out. While the furniture is a static object that you can actually interact with, that has an animation attached to it. So for instance, the chair, you can sit on it, or a bed where you can sleep on it. We're actually going to start with this type of item, so the furniture object. But first thing we have to do, because we're going to be starting with the basics, is make sure that we can actually use the creation kit. Well, I've already opened it, but the first thing you want to do is click on File and then click on Data. That opens up this little box. Well, in here are all the master files and all the add-ons that you actually have. Well, I've got quite a few. But if you just want to make a basic tutorial and you're not going to be copying anything from one of the DLCs, then you just want to double click on Fallout 4 and then click OK. Sometimes it will actually ask you if you're sure that you do wish to proceed without an active file. If you just choose a master file, it won't ask that, but if you also load a different mod because you want to copy something out of it, it will ask you. Just press OK, it's fine. Well, this whole process of loading, it will take ages. I cut it out, but just know that it will take ages. Well, now that we've got the game loaded in here, it means we can actually start copying files. Okay, for the furniture that we're going to be making, I'll go with a bed. In this case, I already have the names of a lot of objects. If you don't, that's fine, just search for what you're looking for. Often when you actually go on the internet, and for instance you type in chair Fallout 4, you can go to the Fallout 4 wiki. When you're on there, it shows you object numbers here, like for instance a vault chair has this number. When you copy this and then paste it into the filter, it will show you just that object. Alright, so I'm going to start with this one because this one is actually already a buildable object, but this bed is that nice looking yellow new bed that comes with the pre-war player house. Alright, first thing we're going to want to do is change this. So tutorial bed, clicking OK, and when it asks you if you want to create a new object, you say yes, otherwise you'll be editing the actual bed that is in the game. Now I always put my initials in front so that I can find them more easily. So if I do YM now, it will actually show the bed I just made. Well, this is only the bed in the game. So it will do nothing other than create the actual item to do something with it. Well, there are multiple options. First option, if you want to make a new bed, you might have just created a retexture that you want to add into the game. What you do then is press here on edit with next to model, and when you have the bed there, you can click on this little bar that says none next to material swap and choose custom material swap. It will make this part of the screen editable. What you do is just double click on the line that you want to change, and then this little window opens. Well, you've got to remember where you put the actual texture, and it's also very important to leave it there and keep the structure of the folders the same when you package your files into a zip to upload to the Nexus or anywhere else. Well, I put the textures for this bed in YM Home bed. Let's say I want to make a blue one. I've got this nice clean blue texture here. I just select it, click OK, and it changes. And I can say OK. If you do it like this, it's fairly easy, and this is actually the only thing you have to do before you click OK, and that's it, you're done. Now, if you make a furniture object and you want to change the actual model of it, then you do it differently. In that case, you select your model, the one you just made. I'll go with a clean blue one that is actually decorated. There it is. And now when I click OK, the two little people, the animations that were on here change, and it reverts to only one. Now we want to make this right, because otherwise if someone uses this bed, they're gonna sleep on it sideways. So you want to click on it once on sleep and then change the positioning by changing the numbers here. Well, sometimes you just have to try what works, but in this case I already know the numbers. So I'm first going to rotate the figure to 90 degrees, lower it slightly, and then move it to the side. Once we've done that, it still has two markers to get into the bed. Sorry, my voice is trying to keep me from making this tutorial. So we want to remove this one because you can't get on the bed from the middle of the bed. So that is the right marker, and we're going to remove that. And you can also remove the rear and the front. Now we've got one in there, and we've got to add another one. So we right click here, say new, double click it to activate the marker, click on it once to select it, and reposition that one. And for this one we can remove the left, the rear and the front markers. Alright, so we made a bed. This is not all you have to do, but we'll get back to that really quickly. I first want to go on to containers. By the way, if you want to manually search for a list of furniture, all you have to do is go to World Objects and then basically click once on furniture, and it will load the entire list. It's a long list, but it might help you what you're looking for. Back to containers, same thing goes for that, only this time you click container, and we'll just go with the duffel bag. Duffel bag doesn't really matter which one we take. just double click on one, rename it, tutorial duffel, click OK. Yes. Once we open it, we can see the actual duffel bag, but we're going to retexture it. You can either make it a new model if you make a new model the way we did with the bed. Right now I'm just going to choose a retexture. Outfits, no, workbench. Jill's duffel bag. Well, it's not very different, but it has a bit of text here. I don't know if you can actually see it, but it's a different texture. So we're going to click OK, and it will change here as well. And that's it. You just have to click OK. Now, the only thing that is different about containers is that they can, and in this case they do, are actually holding on to something. If you want to build it and you want to have something inside it, some people do, and you want to choose what you put inside it, you just double click on the container list, again rename it. This is a leveled list. Click OK, create a new form, yes, and you can remove that one just by clicking it and then pressing delete, and click OK. Now, this new level list I just made has got the same in it as the previous one did, so we can remove that. And now let's say we can actually put leveled lists in here, but in this case we're just going to put some chems in it. So some psycho. And we go for this one, the alchemy. We'll go back to alchemy later, but so I put some psycho in it, some psycho jets, some psycho tats, some psycho buff, and maybe some Radex, yeah. Right now, it would only put one of those in. What a leveled list actually does, it makes a list in its simplest form, because you can actually add levels at which they start producing those. But what it actually does, it's a chance machine. So we've got the duffel bag. If we put these chems in here, in the item list, it would produce one red axe, one psycho buff, one psycho tats, one psycho jet, and one psycho. But if we put this leveled list in here, this is what happens. Basically, when you preview calculate it, in this case it will have one psycho tats in it. Do again, psycho buff. Do again, psycho. Basically, it has a chance, a 1 in 5 chance for each of these to appear once. Now, if I actually put this level list in here, right now there's only one in here, which means one of the 5 items in this thing will show up. But if I change the count to 4, there will be 4 chems in here, and each one of them could be one of those 5. So for, let's see, if I do preview calculated results, then this is what I get. Well, if you do the leveled thing, let's say for psycho you have to be level 1, for psycho jet you have to be level 2, for psycho buff you have to be level 4, 5, for psycho tats you have to be level 6, and for Radex you have to be level 3. and click this, calculate from all levels, and I say OK. Let's say I'm level 1, I will get 4 psychos. Now, if I say I'm level 4, it has more to choose from, because from level 2-1 you could get Psycho Jet, and from level 3 you could get Red X, and from level 4 another one. But so there are different outcomes. So that's how that works. But if you do not choose this, calculate from all levels, in that case, basically, that once you're level 1, it will give you 4 psychos. If you're level 2, it will give you 4 cycle jets. If you're level 3, it will give you 4 red X. If you're level 5, you get 5 psycho buffs, and if you're level 6 or up, you get 4 psycho attacks. So that's the difference between those two. So that's how that works. It also works that way if you put this container into the world. So if you put this into a world space, I'll have to show you that in a different tutorial. But if you do that, it will contain what is in here. But this is going to be a buildable object, so it's really not normal to build something and have psycho in it, so I'm going to remove that. Click OK, and now we have a duffel bag and a bed. Now for the next object is the normal static objects. I'm gonna go with the simple table, so I'm just going to add a regular table, copy it, and do nothing else about it. So I put the cafe table. Just rename it. And click OK. Then OIM underscore, go to the table in question. That's not it. This one. Yeah, so you basically change your model or your material swap, and that's it. The only thing that is important when you want to make it buildable is it has to have a preview transform. Don't ask me why, but it does. So go to workshop, and then basically, what was it? Cafe table. Workshop table. And another thing it has to have is a display name. So in this case, just table. Okay. A table, a duffel bag, and a bed. But this only creates the actual objects. It does not make them buildable in the workshop menu. So that's the next thing we're going to have to do. If you go to items up here, there is something called Constructible Objects. If I click that and empty out the filter, this is basically everything that's buildable in the game, whether it be armors, weapons, or items. It all uses the same basic form. I'll be going with a completely clean form for this, but just to show you the difference, I'm going to open one, because it can also be helpful for other things. Fancy table dinner. So we're going to keep this as a reference. For this one, for a new one, you just right click on it and click new. That only works with base game objects, so not when you want to copy items of a mod. That's why I basically always just double click and change the ID. In this case, we're creating a whole new form. I'm gonna drag it over here. so that we can keep our reference over here and put this on top. So first we're going to give it a name. Tutorial table recipe. Alright, first thing we're going to want to do is add the object that we're going to play in there. That is the create object here. Well, if you put your initials in front of everything, you just do the same thing. You type your initials with the underscore and it gets you right to the right part of the list. So there is the table, YM table tutorial. So we've got that. So now what else do we need to do? Yes, how much does it take to build it? Well, this is a table that's already here, so we can just do something close to it. Right click on it, click new. And then when you see here, they all start with a C and an underscore. If you do that, you actually go to the list of all items that could be inside. Well, in this case, I'm going to go with the steel. Asks you how much. Well, just one. New. C underscore wood. Click it, okay, 7, okay, alright. Now what else? When you actually build it and put it down or pick it up, you want it to make a little sound. Well, other tables use the UI workshop mode item pickup wood to medium, so you can just go with that. If you want to do something else, you can do it, of course, but I usually go just with sounds that are close. Mode item pick up. And if you know how to do custom sounds, you can do that as well, of course. To medium, okay. And in this case, I go for put down. Oh, no space. Put down wood medium. Alright. Menu R subject. You don't have to actually do that. If you don't, it will just choose the R subject or the preview that we set on the original one. So we'll just go with that. Now, the other things you need to do is make sure we know which workshop it can be found in. For all items that you want to make buildable, you go with workshop, workbench, and from there on you can choose. This is a table, so best thing we can do is go with furniture, because it is actually furniture. Now we want to know where it actually shows up in the menu. Now if you look at this, this one says workshop recipe filter furniture 02 and then tables. If we actually right click and click new, you can make a new keyword, but it's not something that I would advise, because there's basically only so many menu items that can be put in there without making it all really complicated. So unless you're using a script, which I cover in another one of my tutorials, you're going to want to click add. Now we get a menu again, and we're going to go with workshop recipe filter. Now we've got a lot of filters in here. Like if you want to put an item in the build menu for decor, you basically go and see O2, where is it? Sorry, you go to decor and then choose the one you want. So basically floors or miscellaneous or statues. There's basically everything you could want. In furniture you can go beds, chairs, containers for instance the duffel bag we just made, because it all works the same from here. So the containers for the containers, you can choose tables here, the bed can go into beds. So basically all the keywords are the ones that are actual menus. So okay, and that's it for the basic version. Down here you can set match conditions so that you can only use this recipe. It will show up in the menu, but you can only use it once you have a certain perk, for instance, or once you're over a certain level. So I'll come back to that later, all the way at the end when I've explained perks and everything like that, so you can actually add perks to some things. Before I forget, one more thing that's very important. File, save. Now, if you haven't saved it previously, then and if you just loaded like the main master file, it will actually ask you to give your mod a name right there. I've done so. As you can see at the top, it says ymtutorial.esp. Whenever you load it next, it will look like that. When you do want to load it, you go to where it is, you double click on it, and while it still selects it, you say set as active file and then press OK, because then it will load your tutorial and make it editable because it's an active file. And you press OK, then it loads. So for now, this concludes this tutorial. I hope you liked it, I hope you learned from it, and I hope you can make some awesome stuff for yourself now. Thank you, and see you next time.